After a test at SpaceX's Boca Chica development site in Texas on Monday night resulted in a violent explosion, the Starship project suffered a setback. The space business used the prototype of the Super Heavy rocket for the test, which is intended to give the additional lift required to launch its Starship spacecraft into orbit and beyond. This booster prototype is powered by 33 of SpaceX's massive Raptor engines, and the test was created with the intent of spinning up the engines to simulate the startup sequence for an actual launch. Hey people, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we'll be looking into the latest updates on the SpaceX recent works. But before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel, turn on the notifications, and most importantly, watch the video to the end. Let's get started. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, initially tweeted that the obviously disastrous test had concluded as predicted, but he swiftly deleted that statement and then said it was not good. A test gone awry resulted in a fireball that was captured on camera by NASA spaceflight. The fire on the launch pad was afterwards put out without any injuries being reported. Although this event may delay an already delayed schedule, Starship is hoping to conduct its first orbital flight test this year. The necessary environmental assessment of the effects of launching Starship from SpaceX's so-called Starbase site in Boca Chica was repeatedly postponed by the FAA. The report was finally made public in June and called for SpaceX to take a number of mitigation measures while largely approving the proposed flight activities. Since when has SpaceX not launched a rocket from South Texas? The business hasn't launched from its launch pads near Boca Chica Beach since a flurry of 7 Starship prototype test flights from August 2020 to May 2021. There are valid reasons for this pause. A valid grounds for hope that it will soon end as SpaceX moves closer to attempting an orbital launch from South Texas later this year. A full-scale Starship prototype made 7 launches, starting with 2 150-meter hops before increasing the altitude to 12.5 kilometers to show off a belly flop maneuver that will be required on the vehicle's return through Earth's atmosphere. Following a successful soft landing after a 10-kilometer flight, the flight test program for Starship came to an end. SpaceX has already pushed its Starship prototype as far as it could at that point. The launch system's Super Heavy first stage had to be developed by SpaceX because the vehicle lacked the ability to reach orbit on its own. It would take time to finish construction on the rockets, ground systems, and paperwork because this would be the biggest and most powerful rocket ever created. Because of this, Boca Chica's launch pads have been empty for almost a year. Even just finishing Super Heavy was a difficult undertaking. 33 Raptor rocket engines were needed for that vehicle, so the corporation needed to ramp up production to meet that demand. In contrast, Aerojet Rocketdyne, a former pioneer in American propulsion, has set a target of producing 4 RS-25 rocket engines per year for NASA's Space Launch System. At least 4 Raptor rocket engines are now being produced by SpaceX each week. The overall power of the 2 engines is equivalent. Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, and his team realized that the initial Raptor rocket engine was too heavy and underpowered. As a result, the firm opted to postpone Super Heavy's flying tests until the Raptor 2 engine was available. It appears to have been a wise choice. Raptor 2 will have at least 230 tons of thrust compared to the first Raptor's 185 tons. Once its design is fully developed, it should also be significantly more durable and cost half as much to construct. A substantial launch and catch tower has also been designed and constructed at the South Texas site with considerable effort. It supports the fully stacked rocket during fueling and launch operations and is more than 150 meters tall. Then as the rocket slows down close to the ground minutes after launch, it will snag the first stage booster with enormous chopsticks. It took over 13 months to complete the design and construction phases. To simultaneously fuel the Super Heavy and Starship rockets, SpaceX had to enhance its ground support infrastructure at the Texas location. The paperwork was the last thing. Approximately 12 launches of SpaceX's smaller Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets were permitted annually under the initial environmental approval for the Texas location. The business had to go back to the Federal Aviation Administration and request approval for considerably more significant launches because the Starship launch system fell outside of this scope. It was the beginning of a protracted process. SpaceX also secured a significant decision earlier this month when it received a crucial regulatory approval, even though it is still not finished. The business can now move on with starting Starship test flights from Texas. SpaceX is still working round the clock to get its most recent Starship and Super Heavy rocket prototypes ready for another week of testing, which will probably be centered on starting the Raptor engines fitted to each spacecraft. SpaceX has been gradually testing both prototypes, known as Booster 7 and Ship 24, since the beginning of April and May, respectively. Static fire testing, which is by far the most challenging and crucial step in certifying both vehicles for flight, is a process that the corporation carefully started attempting to initiate just in early August. SpaceX already has a lot of experience testing an older orbital-class Starship prototype on the ground thanks to developments made in 2021, but the testing of Ship 24 is still new and unusual for a number of reasons. The difficulties are much more severe with Booster 7. As SpaceX continues to improve the rocket, significant design improvements to Starship and Super Heavy have been made over the past year, and a new Raptor engine has also been built. Raptor V2 practically resembles a brand new engine when compared to Raptor V1, and it can generate about 25% greater thrust. The engine's performance has also been modified by SpaceX, especially during startup and shutdown, which lessens the usefulness of earlier tests of Raptor V1 and V1.5 engines on Ship 20 and Booster 3 and 4. In other words, it's feasible that SpaceX is essentially starting from scratch with the testing of Ship 24 and the Booster 7 engines. Propeller conditioning, thermal properties, tanking, detanking, and some test stands are expected to remain mostly unchanged during testing, but a rocket's engine has an impact on practically every component of the vehicle. It was unclear whether the differences between Raptor V1.5 and V2 would render much of the earlier testing invalid before SpaceX started testing them on Starship and rocket prototypes. It is now evident that a significant portion of the earlier work needs to be redone following the start of Booster 7 and Ship 24 static fire testing. It's also evident that, despite some design simplifications in the Raptor V2, it is far more difficult to operate the engines on Starship and Super Heavy. Since the middle of July, SpaceX has successfully completed more spin prime tests between Ship 24 and Booster 7 than any other prototype in Starbase's history. Raptor's pumps are spun up during spin prime testing by passing high-pressure gas through them without lighting anything on fire. However, Booster 7 has only completed 3 static fires, and Ship 24 has only finished 1 static fire with 2 engines, 8 weeks after the start of engine testing. Both vehicles will probably need to carry out numerous successful static fires with all of its Raptor engines before either can be declared fit for flight, a day that might never come. The first orbital launch attempt by SpaceX and Starship could be months away if Booster 7 testing continues at its current rate. This test is arguably the most crucial and unpredictable one still to perform before the first orbital launch attempt. The road to flight readiness for Ship 24 should be less difficult, yet it seems to be having almost as much trouble. Elon Musk, the company's CEO, stated that an intense effort is being made to ensure that the Raptor engines on the Super Heavy B7 are adequately confined during an anomaly so that a violent failure of one engine won't harm or destroy the rocket, other engines, or the launch pad. That might make it more difficult to test Booster 7, and it's likely that SpaceX is doing the same things to safeguard Ship 24. After many additional Ship 24 tests that failed to achieve ignition and a partially successful Booster 7 static fire during its first multi-engine test, SpaceX rebuilt the engines on both spacecraft at the beginning of September. One of the 13 Raptor Center engines in Booster 7 was replaced, and one of the 3 Raptor vacuum engines in Ship 24. The few surviving Boca Chica homeowners received a safety advisory from SpaceX on September 5th informing them that testing will resume as early as Tuesday, September 6th. That notice didn't guarantee anything, especially recently, but it does give SpaceX a chance if Ship 24, Booster 7, and the star positions happen to be favorable between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. CDT. There were further opportunities on September 7th, 8th, 9th, and 12th. With that, the video has come to an end. Let us know what you think in the comment section to help us expand our community and attract more people who share our interests and are eager to learn. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you thought the video was interesting. Till then, bye.